The Missouri settlement had no name for what Clara White was. Her hair grew in silver white, her eyes were the pale pink of dawn, and her skin burned scarlet under any sun. The midwife screamed when she was born, and the preacher called her a sign of the devil. Her father built a cellar and locked her inside for 20 years. She learned to read by the crack of light under the door. She learned to sing by listening to the church hymns through the floorboards. She learned patience because there was nothing else to learn. When her mother died, her father decided to be rid of her. He answered a mail-order advertisement from a blind mountain man named Elias Gray, describing Clara as unusual in appearance but skilled in silence. Elias had lost his eyesight to a mine explosion 10 years prior and had not seen a human face since. He asked for no photograph. The stagecoach carried Clara across the prairie, her face hidden beneath a heavy veil, her pink eyes watering in the sun. The other passengers moved away from her, whispering about ghosts and curses. She had stopped crying about such things years ago. Elias waited at the stage stop in Colorado Territory, his blind eyes staring at nothing, his gnarled hands gripping a walking stick. He heard her step down, the soft rustle of her dress, the hesitation in her boots. He said, "You don't need to be afraid. I can't see you." Clara lifted her veil and took his hand. She placed it on her cheek, her silver white hair, her pale skin. Elias touched her face for a long moment, then smiled and said, "You feel like moonlight." I remember Moonlight. She wept for the first time in a decade. The cabin sat at the edge of a pine forest, surrounded by mountains that Clara could see, but Elias could only imagine. She described everything to him: the color of the sky, the shape of the clouds, the way the aspens trembled in the wind. He listened like a thirsty man drinking water. At night, Clara walked outside under the stars. Her pale skin glowed in the darkness, reflecting the faintest light, making her look like a spirit floating through the trees. Elias sat on the porch, unable to see her, but he could feel her presence like warmth from a fire. The miners from the nearby Silver Creek mine heard about the albino woman and came to gawk. They called her ghost, witch, corpse walker. Clara stood on the porch, her pink eyes unblinking, and said, "I've been called worse by better men." The miners shuffled away. Elias asked her why she did not hide from them. Clara sat beside him on the porch step and said, "I spent 20 years hiding in a cellar. I am done hiding. Let them look. Let them whisper. I am not the one who is blind." He took her hand and held it. Weeks later, the Silver Creek mine collapsed. 30 men were trapped underground, their lanterns extinguished, their voices fading into darkness. The rescue party descended with torches, but could not find the tunnel where the men had taken shelter. The foreman feared the worst. Clara heard the news from a rider who stopped at the cabin. She looked at the moon rising over the mountains, full and bright, and she made a decision. She told Elias she was going to the mine. He tried to stop her. She said, "I have been in darkness my whole life. I am not afraid of it." She walked to the mine entrance, her silver white hair unbound, her pale skin bare to the moonlight. The rescue party stared at her, this ghost woman glowing in the darkness. She stepped into the mine shaft without a torch, without a lantern, without anything but her own skin. The darkness inside was absolute, but Claire's body reflected the faintest light. The glow of distant stars through the mine opening, the phosphorescence of underground fungi, the shimmer of water on the walls. She became a living lantern, her pale form visible in the blackness like a candle flame. She followed the tunnel deeper, calling out to the trapped miners. Her voice echoed through the rock, and the men heard her. They crawled toward her voice, toward the glow of her skin, toward the impossible sight of a woman shining in the absolute dark. She found them huddled in a side tunnel, 30 men covered in dust and fear. Their lanterns were dead, their matches exhausted. They looked at her, this pale pink-eyed woman glowing like a saint, and some of them fell to their knees. She said, "Follow me. I will lead you out." She walked ahead of them, her body reflecting every scrap of light, casting a soft glow that illuminated the tunnel walls. The miners followed in silence, weeping, praying, touching her shadow like a relic. She led them through 2 miles of darkness without a single misstep. The rescue party saw the glow emerging from the mine entrance, a soft, silver light moving toward them like a rising moon. Clara stepped out into the night, 30 miners behind her, all of them alive. The foreman fell to his knees. The miners kissed her hands. The story of the albino woman who glowed in the dark spread across the territory faster than any telegraph. The newspapers called her the Angel of Silver Creek. The miners called her their savior. The settlement that had mocked her now built a statue in her honor. Clara returned to the cabin, to Elias, to the quiet life she had chosen. He was waiting on the porch, his blind eyes turned toward the sound of her footsteps. He said, "I heard you saved them. I wish I could have seen you." She took his hand and placed it on her glowing cheek. She said, "You have seen me better than anyone. You touched my face and called me Moonlight. Everyone else saw a monster. You saw the sky." Elias pulled her close and held her. This woman, who had been locked in the cellar and had become the light of the mountains. They married in the spring, under a full moon, with the miners standing as witnesses. Clara wore a white dress that matched her hair, and Elias stood with his hands on her face, tracing her features like a map of home. The miners sang hymns and wept like children. A final wide shot of the cabin at midnight, the moon full and brilliant overhead. Clara stands on the porch, her silver white hair glowing, her pale skin reflecting the lunar light like a beacon. Elias sits beside her, his blind eyes turned toward her face, his hand resting on hers. Behind them, the mountains rise dark against the starry sky, and in the distance, the Silver Creek mine shines with new lanterns. The woman they called a ghost became the light that guided 30 souls home, and the blind man who could not see her loved her more than any man with eyes.